It is 221 Dominican pesos for a liter of diesel fuel here. And when you convert that to American dollars, that's about $4 a liter, which then converts to 3.785, which comes out to like $16.60 a gallon here in the Dominican Republic.
What up?
Most places here in Maine, the diesel is nearing $7 a gallon.
Popping out the chat. Everybody, there it is. Good evening. Crowdster, I know this guy was waiting. He was itching at the trigger. Himney, call me tomorrow.
Gasoline here for a gallon of gas is like $18 to $19 a gallon. It's
That's
quite
insane.
a bit more than.
I guess I can't complain about $7 a gallon for diesel then, but it's still pretty bad.
Well, I guess right off the rip, everybody, welcome. Ooh, I like the background.
Yeah, I'll flip them through.
Tell me now. We're gonna do a fuel check-in, our weekly fuel check-in. Right now, I am at 599.
I am at
599.
599.
It's going up.
674.
Oh,
Please tell me
man.
the rest of you guys are using the Gas Buddy app.
I've got Gas Buddy, but it doesn't help as much as it should where I live. So I've also got a Shell credit card that gives me 10 cents off a gallon. Big deal, but it helps when it's 674.
599, A-Rod?
Yeah.
I mean, you're like
760 a gallon, 672. Oh my gosh.
I feel that 672. That's painful.
I'm at 559 to 579 where I'm at. I'm only like 25 minutes from you.
Yeah, where did I see it was 599?
It's 599 in Wayne
Speedway.
Good old Speedway.
Come on, somebody.
My last trip out to see A-Rod, the Speedways treated me right. We don't have those near me, but
yeah, BP right there.
I see
589.
I'm looking at 589, not too far from me. They're just not my normal hits. You know, I'm a little picky about my gas stations.
Yeah, that's why I'll have to pay the extra. Like I got a water and fuel issue once. It never made it past the water separator, but never again. High volume or trusted only.
I was just say high volume and trusted for sure. I mean, and I'm super stringent about it. Like in the winter.
You gotta be.
I mean, the
winter. It's you can't fuck around.
I'll push it a little bit in the summer. You know, with I mean, let's just face it. I mean, the gel factor, the pour factors aren't really so much of an issue. You know, that's where turnover becomes a thing. You know, I mean, if they don't turn over their tanks fast enough, you go to some gas station that's got 2-month-old diesel, it doesn't have the pour and the cloud points lower, so therefore you put it in your tank and you get gelled up fuel.
My biggest fear is just water at this point. I don't want to drop my tank again. Obviously gelling, that's a concern.
Luckily, just for the winter.
Yeah, I use a bit of additive and whatnot either way, but
I know, but I mean the difference is whether or not you're adding an additive that's going
right to some bullshit. Of course, no, I agree with you. 100%.
We'll call it non-winter fuel. We'll have 30 to 50 degree difference in their pour points. I mean, it's a big swing. I mean,
we got
your
589.
Hot shot guys watch that all the time because if they fuel up in Texas and then they go straight north in the middle of the wintertime, I mean, they can drive themselves right into, gelled up fuel if they shut the tank, if they shut the truck off.
Yeah,
I know Daddy Diesel, he's in Ohio. We got 589 and $6 over. I think he said 610. We got somebody in Ohio right now, 589, and
Saturday I got diesel for 527 at Walmart in Kentucky.
I envy that because I remember when it
Kentucky.
hit that, it hit that high, and I was like, damn, 589 or 5, when is it going to stop? And then eventually it just kept going up and up and up. I'm like, okay, Should have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, it's like that. You're like, I'll gas up tomorrow.
Right.
I'll fill up tomorrow, and then you roll out tomorrow, and by God, the price jumped 25 cents overnight, and you're like,
yeah. And
wow,
I never
talk about bad adult decisions.
correct. And I never let it get to empty. But the one time recently that I did let it get to empty from empty, I think it cost me like $135 to fill a 26-gallon tank.
Cost me $66 the other day to fill my wife's escape up from a quarter tank. I mean, a freaking escape with gas.
Ooh,
I mean,
look at that pool.
Oh, listen, look at that.
For one of you guys that don't
horrible.
know, Ford Boss is actually in the Dominican Republic right now. A few
That
guys
lucky bastard.
were asking me if we were going to see Rich next to some tiki torches, but the pool is going to have to suffice.
Hey, listen, as long as we're not looking at him in a grass skirt, it'd be all right.
No, we good.
You want to see it? I can make it happen.
I'm just gonna say, don't tempt him, man.
I can make it happen.
What are we gonna do? I mean, I know there's not a lot of guys watching, but I wish there was on a larger scale. Like, I feel like we need to have a convention or something. We need
Tony's
to
over
talk.
there flying the super space over there.
I'm trying to get rid of that stupid corner that keeps coming up on the background. It's like ruining my truck.
I mean, it's better than the rest of us. I went with the standard blurry screen.
Yeah, I think even with the blur, it's like fucking up there. Anyway, I like this convention idea. Continue.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like we are, as a society, we're just all of us here. We're just taking it, and like I think people are maybe overlooking, like, it's just the cost of fuel, and it's how it's just affecting our pockets, like, directly, as we're literally putting it into our trucks. But I think a lot of guys, people just in the country and the nation, maybe not are taking to the fact that our farmers who are making our food are using the same fuel.
That's right.
And that is going to make what they're making for us more money. So there goes a cost, and then that's going to go into a truck that is now going to require more money from the farmer, which is going to require, it's just this trickling down effect. And we, the end user, the consumer, we're not getting a raise. We're not getting any type of adjustment for the inflation increase.
That's
and
right.
I think that, I mean, this is how I feel. We need to do something about it, not each individual, but we need to join our brothers, our Power Stroke family around the nation, all over the place. Like, I don't know who we need to talk to, but like, we need to have, like, we need to shut down.
So
Stop working.
Here's an idea. I was looking at it, and Shell, for example, just posted a record, not just for Shell, but for like the industry, like record profits in, of course, the billions for the first quarter of the year. And I was just thinking about something similar, where what if we like organized as like a country or a couple of regions where it would hit them hard and just didn't buy fuel for like a couple of days. Like, that would
wasn't that already tried a couple of years back? I mean, back like in, say, 2014 or 2015.
Entirely possible.
They tried that, and there's really no actual effect. I mean, you don't buy fuel on Tuesday, you just buy it on Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, sales dip for that day, and it shows
it alternates anyway. Not everybody's filling up that day, but yeah. So that's kind of why I kept my mouth shut about it. I was like, yeah.
I mean, listen, I have a friend of mine that works for a smaller company, maybe like a 200 employee company. They do a really good job at taking care of their employees, always have, and they are getting, and this will go to show you how much they take care of their people. they're actually getting a 3% of their base salary. They're all salary folks. 3% of their base salary bonus at the end of the month for inflation. And
Wow.
they're just getting a one-time hit. I mean, it's just a bonus. So it's not like it's a major increase in your pay. But the real crazy part was they are actually going to give, so you have to submit your receipts at the end of the month for your gas receipts. And they're going to actually give you a $2 per gallon credit up to 50 gallons a month, aka
Wow.
$100 a month, that they're going to give to their employees in an expense back to their employees. So an expense, so it's not going to be taxed or anything like that. And they're actually giving back to their employees. And I mean, you talk about an amazing company that's really stepping up. I mean, they're doing both of those things.
That's pretty dope.
And
Wow.
I mean, that's
incredible.
That's over the top. You want to talk about like employee retention and employee morale. I mean,
that's somewhere you want to keep working. It's funny because they just did it up here in Maine. We had a budget surplus, and they did something kind of similar where they were like, "Oh, well, we've got a budget surplus from all the extra COVID money. If you paid your taxes in 2021, we're going to give you a check for $850." I was like, "Okay, all right,
yeah." I mean,
take that. Free almost $1,000. That'll fill my truck up 4 times. Sure.
And then I'm sure people are going to complain that, I mean, like I did the math like on my wife's car. I'm like, okay, well, if this was my wife's car, how would that work? My wife's been, blessed enough to be able to, kind of have a split work from home. She worked from home for a long time. She worked for an IT company, and she worked from home for a long time. And now that she's back to work, she's decided to do like a 3 days in the office. They have that type of freedom. That's well above their requirements now post-COVID, right? And, she of course makes the best out of it and, works from home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That way, you're home when you get off on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and you're already ready to, jump right into the weekend. But then Monday morning, work from home as well. So you can kind of ease yourself into the weekend or into the work week. Something that A-Rod definitely can't do. They don't let him bring home the trucks on the weekend to work on Fridays and Mondays from home. But
that'd be dope, though.
I mean, I looked at it like
go by my house this week. I'm working from the garage.
I mean, I looked at it for my wife, and I was like, hey, listen, if that's something that implemented at her work, she would never hit the maximum 50 gallons per month, working 3 days a week with her 30 mile per gallon escape. I mean, if it was me driving the kind of miles that she drives in my Super Duty, I mean, I would hit it probably by the second week.
Right. I was just going to say, yeah, probably.
I mean, that being said, I mean, on the highway when driving in rush hour, where she drives all the way out to, BFE, busy Oakland County, in Michigan, my truck actually it'll push 20 miles a gallon, driving down the highway at slower rush hour speed, 55, 60 mile an hour.
Most stuff.
You'll see that on the trend, you know what I mean? Like what is that? Last hour or whatever, where you can see all the different gauges.
It's pretty sweet. You can change it to like last 5 minutes, last 30 minutes, I don't remember exactly what it is, but
how do you do that?
You're looking at my truck. I don't know what year your truck is.
I got a 2017 first year.
Okay,
there's no change in that.
Yeah,
I did the math on it one time. I think each graph line was like 7 minutes.
Yeah, it might have a little bit more of an advanced thing, but just strictly for fuel economy and that kind of stuff, you can at least change it in these older ones. Just to you can change it to like a different interval, so to speak. It's not super advanced.
Well, yeah, but the older ones also showed you when you were regenning, and they have progressively gotten more and more, for lack of better words, I mean, user dumb. I mean, sure. I only know I'm regenning, so I can tell by the way the throttle acts. Right. I can tell that it kind of falls on its face when you let off the throttle. and your instant miles per gallon, it goes down to, you know, somewhere in the 10 range,
It's pretty
know,
gross.
you know, from high teens to 10 when you're regenning. Of course, that being said, I have on command, so I always turn it off when I start getting high on my
I was
percentage.
gonna say that's probably your best bet. I mean, personally, that's why I got rid of the whole DPF thing. I mean, I don't hate the environment, but
You mean that you didn't get rid of the DEF thing?
yeah.
Well, let me grab my EPA hat. Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
please do. It's all
Yeah,
good.
I had just saw on TikTok a trucker. He was parked on the side of the off ramp, and he was showing a picture of Loves and Flying J out of fuel, and then the one on the other side of the freeway, they're out of fuel.
I
And he
saw
said-
that. It was
And
crazy.
the trucks behind him and the trucks in the lot, they're all out of fuel and can't get any fuel. And it's
What
like,
state was
well,
this?
I don't know. It was a guy on TikTok, and he was just talking about the situation that was going on around him. I didn't know what.
It's mostly
where
it's
he
happening
was.
in a couple places up here in the Northeast. You can
But
look
that
it
is
up.
that's bad. I mean, I don't know offhand. How much are one of the tankers hold? What's a tanker? One of the saddle tanks hold? Is that 150
not-
gallons?
150 gallons.
I think it's like a couple thousand gallons.
No.
I would thought they'd be like
Oh,
a
a saddle tanker. Never mind. I thought you were talking about a fuel truck. Never mind.
no, like a
that-
semi truck tractor,
think
like the
some-
tanks on the
Oh,
side.
Yeah.
see,
Oh,
I thought he was talking about a fuel truck.
No,
I thought-
like
I
the
thought
saddle
most of
I
tank.
them
think
were
on the-
300 gallons each, no? Depending. So
Yeah,
So
like
that's-
100,
you got
150
at
gallons
least-
per side.
Yeah, let's say
okay.
300 gallons of truck, and you got how many trucks?
So then you have to take into consideration what kind of fuel is held on one of the tanker trucks. So if you get for a truck stop, you get an entire tanker. If we take away the lovely MDOT, 400 axle semi trailer fuel truck that we have in Michigan here that holds 13.5, most states, due to weight, with just a set of tandem axles on the rear, are holding in the 10,000 range, 10 to 11,000. So that's the difference. A-Rod, you know what I'm talking about. So does CP over there. I mean, in Michigan, we have the, what is it, like 8 axles, 6 axles, something like that.
Yeah.
So they hold 13.5. You don't really notice unless you see them next to each other. The Michigan ones are a little bit more girthy.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't notice. I wasn't out there for that long, but I'll have to check. I'm going to be out there in a couple weeks. So
every once in a while, you'll see like a meme or like a TikTok on it, like OMG, look at all the axles on these Michigan tankers, And unless you set them, unless you set them next to each other, you don't really notice the, the it's not a length thing, it's a girth thing. Insert funny joke, 13-year-old boy joke.
Insert meme here.
Yeah, insert meme here.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You're
It's
gonna
gonna
put
go to
fuel in your truck.
$7. Right. I mean,
You're gonna pay it, is what you're gonna do. Unfortunately, it's
I am not gonna. That fucking truck's gonna sit right here in the goddamn driveway.
You know what I'm gonna do?
You're gonna drive what?
I have a beater, and you see this thing right here, right? Yeah. 1987 Honda Elite, boy.
Oh,
Honda Elite.
Wait, what's the beater though? What's the beater?
We have. I haven't even talked about it yet. Real quick, we got an 04 Hyundai Elantra.
Okay.
We're going to talk about this is a true testament on why you do maintenance, and not that it's a Hyundai. This goes for any engine. This thing's got 424,000 miles on it.
Wow.
Maintenance, tires, suspension, everything's been covered multiple times.
That's crazy.
And we have that, and straight sipping.
I was gonna say, is it still sipping? That's good.
Oh, straight sipping.
By
So
the time I get to you, I think my truck will just hit 150, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, does it have the cats in it installed and still?
yeah.
Yeah.
So got the exhaust
I mean,
on it.
yeah or yeah.
No, as in like, yeah, it's all
Watch
original,
out for
like-
this guy, dude. He's with the EPA. I'm telling you.
Well, no, I mean, like, so back in the day, you know, early 2000s, I had a Pontiac 6000 LE. They used to call it the Ghoulie,
shit.
right?
Okay, all right, bro.
And I rolled like 288,000 on it when I finally traded it in. I wasn't really driving. I used to drive it like 130 miles a day to drive to work from, you know, two different, you know, like I think I had a 65-mile each way trip. And I kind of was sad to turn it in. That thing got great gas mileage, and I would have probably drove it to Cali even with 288,000 on it.
Hell yeah.
But the reason why I asked is because I, at one point, at about 250, 260, I had an exhaust leak, and I had the cats cut off when it was at the exhaust shop. And the miles per gallon dropped when I cut the cats off of it. I mean, obviously, I wasn't throwing a tuner on it. You know what I mean? I didn't call HP tuners up.
Yeah, for the Pontiacs. Yeah.
The Pontiac 6000 with the 3.1.
Yeah, I got the 3100 series. Do
I
you
got
have
the
any available
3100.
flashes? No.
But I mean, that thing had 288,000. The motor had never been opened. The heads have never were touched. You know, the trans was never opened. But I had a pretty hefty. I mean, I had changed the, you know, radiator and the water pump and the alternator and all, you know, all the other maintenance things that you would normally change. And then I would do every 30,000 miles, I would do the transmission, you know, and I would either do a trans pan drop and filter change and top off, you know, a couple, you know, a gallon or a couple quarts or whatever the hell it was. And then alternating that every, I think it was 30,000. I would do a trans flush on the next interval and then go, you know, just back and forth. And that thing, I would have drove that thing anywhere. It was just a beast. That one of the good old diehard motors from back in the day. But my point being is, you know, don't put the Hyundai on a diet. Because you're not going to find you're not going to be able to call HP tuners up and get it dialed in.
I'm worried about someone stealing that motherfucker off.
You know, I never did any of that. Jazz either. I'm a big AMSOIL guy, but I never did AMSOIL in that thing. That was pre.
Yeah. Those older engines, you don't need it, bro. It's these newer, like I just started putting it in my truck maybe like 60,000 miles ago. Now in my diff too. I mean, I'll be honest, like I've done some testing. I get better fuel mileage with it, but the main thing is the oil analysis. The metals wear has gone way down since I started using it.
Are you buying the AMSOIL oil analysis, or are you buying the Blackstone?
No, I get it. I do Blackstone. I've been doing Blackstone for years since they've pretty much been around.
Because AMSOIL also offers one.
They do, and there's some other company now that has a little bit more in depth one, but you know, you kind of start feeling loyal to. Plus, you can always. I know like a guy at Blackstone. I can just hit him up and be like, hey, you know, this wasn't on the test, but I know you have the parameters. Like, can you, you know, and then he'll give me the. You know.
Does anybody remember back in the early 2000s when AMSOIL was first kind of making it big, and they had a few guys that had you could actually buy the additive bottle, you know, because the additives is what usually leaves your synthetic oils first.
I do remember that.
There was guys that had like stickered the back of their truck window, you know, their diesel truck, you know, whether it was Super Duty or, you know, a Duramax or whatever, and they would say, you know, 100,000 miles never changed my oil.
That's a little excessive.
Well, because they would add, they would re-put in the additives.
The bypass too, yeah, right, true.
You would send out an oil sample, have it tested by AMSOIL, and then they would say yes, your additives are gone or not gone. You know, the percentages.
Okay.
And then you would literally buy a bottle of additives and re-add the additives into the oil, you know, so, you know, and the guys were doing some, you know, astronomical amount of time.
That's insane.
And, you know, they're like, you know, 100,000 mile oil changes, and AMSOIL got away from that. Now, I mean, I'm an AMSOIL dealer myself, just for, you know, I'm not like a guy that pushes it or sells it really big.
Sure.
I just did it because I used to go through a bunch of it for motorcycles, but
fair enough.
You know, I would-
I'm embarrassed to say how often I change my oil. I go through a lot of it.
I see. I'm probably the opposite side embarrassed on it. You know what I mean? I debate it or not, but you know, I just wait for the computer to tell me.
Sure. Hey,
Last time-
different strokes for different folks, man. You know, yeah,
Ford boss over there picking his eye. He just that just really disturbed him.
had too many pina coladas.
Well, the diesel community, I get why the diesel community, why they try to run the AMSOIL out longer. I don't care what you run in these newer direct injected, port injected, dual injection setups on these turbocharged engines where they're making damn near 400 horsepower, 400
I
some
know.
foot-pounds of torque. It
Unreal.
doesn't matter. I don't care if you're putting AMSOIL in it. I don't care if you're putting Royal Purple in it. You can tell me I'm wrong until I'm blue in the face when I'm the one pulling the engine apart, when I'm the one that gets to see what's going on inside this thing, when I'm the one smelling the oil, and at 4,000 miles and 5,000 miles, I'm smelling so much fuel dilution, and I'm already starting to see things tarnish inside an engine that has less than 20,000 miles on it. I don't care what you put in it. You cannot justify because it has a high TDN rating.
2,500 miles is pretty much what I put on my oil. That's it.
But Tony,
full synthetic, the 540, the dumb, stupid, expensive one. It's like, oh, bro, you can run that for like 7,000 miles. I'm like, yeah, but I don't. It's cool. I want to do, you know.
Are you pulling a lot? Do you idle a lot?
I do idle a fair bit, but not so much in the summer. I also don't like to shut my truck down right away. We're not talking hours here. And yeah, I do pull like she does a lot of work, but also doesn't. Like it's mostly straightforward pulling like a specific amount of weight. Like, you know, a friend needs a fairly decent sized tractor or like small excavator taken to the shop, something like that, or I need to borrow one or something, you know. But it's in, you know, the thing is it's almost 10 years old. It's in good shape. So it does its fair bit of work, but you know, no, not to the point where it's like she's chugging along, pulling, you know, 30,000 pounds every day, and she's really getting done. Not like that. I just do it. I just love my truck, man. You know, I don't ever want to get rid of this truck. I may get another truck at some point, but that one will be around. I may get buried in it.
It's like what we're gonna
My
do.
girlfriend's over here probably losing her mind, but yeah.
What we're gonna have to do to make sure went up 10 cents since I talked to you this morning, A-Rod. That's unbelievable. To get the maximum fuel economy out of our trucks, I can post a link in the description. I had a video that I actually made using the same tool that Ford Boss and CP we use called IDS, where we can actually take the vehicle and do a live fuel economy test where it actually displays the instant and average values of the road test that we're currently in right now. And we usually like to go, you know, a good 20-25 minute road test over a variety of conditions and get a good average of you know, the road test. But you know, a lot of things are going to be taking into consideration. Air pressures are a big one. I see so many trucks come in with tire lights on, air pressures all over the place.
I keep a meter right in my visor, a tire pressure gauge.
Probably the number one thing I think I see, tire pressure. I mean, a lot of us guys are probably in the accelerator, which as to be expected, but on and off throttle, probably not a good thing. Drag things that obviously these are work trucks towing. That's why these things didn't have a window sticker with the numbers on it. So it's kind of, you get what you get. I mean,
what size tires are they rolling on them?
Right, yeah. What size tires? How much of those offsets? How much tire is sticking on the outside of the fender? Those poor wheel bearings.
Don't even get me started on the millennial wheels.
As you can see, mine is pretty much stock for the most part.
The biggest thing
or drive,
the Super Duty guys that come into the dealership that I service is their air filters are always plugged up. They do not maintain them properly at all.
That's a good one.
It scares me.
And both of the batteries are typically so swollen, it looks like they're giving birth, and they never service them. And the battery terminals are completely corroded and look like they're about to fall off because they just don't
Hurry.
How
don't
old?
maintain.
Just side note.
Speaking of which,
how
I
old are
may
those
be
batteries?
due for
5,
battery.
6 years old,
5 or
4 years
6?
old.
4 years
Yeah.
old.
They're at
I
the
know
end
that
of their
the Ford Moco batteries, A-Rod, I'm sure you can confirm this. The Ford Moco batteries, a lot of our trucks come with, especially the Illuma Duties, are especially the guys in the South are having a little bit more problem with it, but they're only getting like down south, they're getting like 3 years out of them.
That's normal out of a battery, any battery period does.
I
I'm
see
running 2 Ford
Yeah.
Motor Company batteries in this truck right here. They're going on their 5th
It's
year.
normal. 2-3
Yeah.
years in Florida, your batteries are toast.
Yeah,
Replace
that's-
them,
Florida.
In Florida,
I don't
you
live
guys
that.
only
Yeah,
get a
I don't
couple
live in
years.
that kind of climate, but
I
it's been.
gave that
good.
disclaimer of down south.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I said
moderate
it's
temperatures.
2-3 years tops. It's done.
And I got
It's
4.5
all batteries.
I got about 4.5 years out of my 2017 Moco batteries until I had I'll just say I have a device on my truck that monitors such things,
Sure.
and one of the things it monitors is voltage.
Yep.
And it would text me when it got once it dipped below 12. And the truck still started, so had I not had that, I probably would have never known the difference. But it would text me. It texted me until it gave me a low voltage alert, and I actually ended up going to the Quick Lane, the Ford Quick Lane. Actually, the Ford Quick Lane sells the Ford Motorcraft batteries for substantially cheaper than your auto parts store.
Really?
I'm talking for the exact 750 CCA battery, Motorcraft battery is $139 at the Quick Lane.
That's
And
actually pretty damn reasonable.
And
It's the price at our dealership too, $139.99.
Yeah.
and I think it was either 180 or 190, I think, for the same battery at fill in the blank, parts store.
Yeah.
And then for $10 more at the Quick Lane, you got to upgrade it to the 850. The whatever they call it, the high output or whatever they call it. So I mean, so for $150, $300 for the pair.
You can't beat that, I guess.
And they put them in. I mean, and I
Right.
didn't have an appointment or nothing. I just rolled up and they just took care of me.
That's pretty good. I may try something different next when these have to be almost, I'd say another winter or two with them. But yeah, I don't know. I've been looking at different batteries. It's a fucking shitstorm.
You gotta think about it though. Here's the thing. I pick at people in the field that if I don't know something, I ask a lot of questions. And there was the guy delivering. He had a huge battery truck and he was delivering batteries. And I said, "Do you just supply the dealerships?" And he said, "No, I supply the parts stores. I supply the dealerships." And I said, "So is it true that there are only like 4, maybe 5 manufacturers of these batteries, and a lot of them have the same label and they're really the same battery?" And he said, 100% true. There's a lot of them that you think that you're getting some special brand just because it has a sticker, and you can literally go to Walmart and you get the same quality for $40 less. It's made by the same company.
Wow.
So I started
Just get
checking
mine
with-
from Walmart. Shit.
Well, I watched Project Farm's video on his battery testing in the Walmart.
He's good,
battery.
dude. I love that fucking guy. Excuse my
The
language.
Walmart battery did outstanding with pretty much all the testing that he did, and I thought, let me go pull a Walmart battery and let me see how this does. So you guys know the Cherry Grand Marquis I just found with 26,000 miles.
I meant to congratulate you on that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I'm taking the battery off the shelf because they didn't have the AGM, and it was $50 cheaper than everywhere else for the same style of battery. And I took that battery and I set it down in the cart at 750 CCA, and I'm looking at the one next to it. No, 850 CCA, I think. Either 750 or 850. I'm looking at the one next to it. I'm like, wait a second. It's the same exact case. It's the same exact stamping. The numbers, the box stickers and stuff are put in the same exact order. It's the same freaking battery. The molding and everything was the same. And I was like, this is what that guy was talking about. If you think about it, there's only so many manufacturers that can only manufacture so many different batteries.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And they just slap different stickers on them and people sell them at different prices.
Interesting.
That's a good
While
point.
I do agree with that, I will say that, you know, there is the fact that, you know, there is the code for the type of size of the battery.
Yeah.
And that predicates the box size, the clamps mount in the bottom, and that kind of stuff like that. That's what that is. I mean,
And you're also paying for your warranty as well. You can go
True.
get
and
True.
that
you can go get
that
a
is
3-year.
that's the crux of the argument. I mean, even, you know, I got the Harley behind me, and I had guys, even when I had my choppers and stuff, they were buying these batteries on, you know, fill in the blank, some high dollar, you know, crazy battery from some company on the internet, having them shipped to their house. And I always said, there ain't no way. I'd never do that. Multiple reasons. One, I have the kind of luck that my battery's going to die on Friday afternoon for Memorial Day weekend, and I'm not going to be able to take my bike out. I want to buy it from somewhere local that I can walk in and throw it at the parts guy. I mean, and
Right. Give me
that's
one of
always,
these.
you know, you can have the baddest warranty in the world, but if I can't walk in and do a quick swap on it, it doesn't really serve me any good if my vehicle's down, whether it's a bike, truck, you know, or you know, gas powered sex toy.
The Max
You know.
Ford batteries are, in my opinion, on what I can pay at the dealership is the same price as what you're going to pay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I go and I love buying the Max Ford or the Max Motorcraft batteries because I got my 3-year replacement and then my 2-year proration.
Mm-hmm.
So it extends beyond the 3 years. You still have coverage where most batteries fall off right at that 3 years. And sorry, you're not covered anymore.
Which I couldn't remember the terminology, but yeah, it was the Max Motorcraft battery, which what took it from 750 to 850. And that was the one that was at the dealer for, it was $40 cheaper. For the 750, they wanted $190 at the parts store. And I got the 850, the Max, for $150 installed. I mean, times 2 for the diesel, but
right.
You know, had the person had a, you know, a gas motor, they would have paid, only had to buy one. And I mean, granted, I can't give any kind of comment on their longevity because I've only had it in the truck for 3 or 4 months or whatever the heck it is. But, you know, I wasn't going to screw around with it. The Ford dealer's right around the corner. Screw it. I mean, it's
so
only the
I got a
Moco
question for you
batteries
guys,
I've heard
Chris and Aaron and Cody and was it Tony? Is it Tony or what did I forget?
Yeah.
Only with the truck.
Sorry, I'm not. I don't talk to you that much, so I
That's okay. I'm not offended.
So somebody had messaged me and they asked me. They said, if I don't reset the BMS in my truck when I replace the battery, is the BMS going to relearn? And I had responded to him with, I think there's a certain amount of sleep time that truck's got to have in a down position after that battery's replaced in order for it to be key cycled back on and that BMS pick up the amount of battery voltage that's there, how hard the alternator's taking to charge it. And then I started digging into these forums and they were saying, actually, there's ways that you can reset the BMS. It's 8 hours of sleep time with no key in the ignition and it resets the F-150s. I wonder if it's the same status with the Super Duties because you can go in and you can flash the high beams, key on, high beams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, brake pedal, 1, 2, 3, battery light flash, BMS is now reset.
Really?
You just did it yourself without a scanner.
I didn't know that.
Or replace the battery,
Mm-hmm.
or pull the battery out, headlight switch on 30 seconds, headlight switch off 30 seconds, hook the negative cable up to the new battery, key cycle on. And that, guys are saying, is part of programming as well that the engineers don't tell people that they found on the DIY side.
Really? That is really interesting.
The flash thing seems to work for most people with the F-150s. The 5 times the high beams and then
1,
3
2,
brake
3,
pedals.
4, 5. Okay.
And then 3 brake
Rod,
pedals.
do you do that at your work?
No, he's just telling me. I always grab the scan tool. I didn't know there was a
I was gonna
workaround.
say, so you can do it with a scan tool, obviously. Okay, that's
Most
interesting.
definitely.
I mean,
But I don't.
you can do it with a scan tool, but this is not the first time I've heard this. I was in
Sure.
a forum for us.
I don't have a scan tool, that's good information for me.
Yeah. But
But
I
I
was in a forum.
I don't know that the dealership did that on my truck at all when they replaced the batteries.
We don't
Yeah,
have
they-
BMS on the Super Duties.
You have to have a sensor on the negative terminal, and
Yeah.
your Super Duties are
Okay.
just going to be straight, whatever,
That would explain it.
Well, we do on the passenger cable, but I don't think there's
Yeah.
a provision in service functions in the electrical part to go to BMS reset unless they added something.
Yeah.
But that's
I mean, I don't-
that's interesting.
And they
well, I mean,
when they
that's for
tested
F1. Go ahead. Sorry.
when they tested my batteries, I made sure that I told them, because you got we'll just call it young dudes
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
out in the quick lanes. I said, hey, listen, when they go test them, they want to load test these batteries. Make sure they disconnect the battery and test them independently.
Yeah, yeah.
And they tested it. They actually did it both ways. So I was pretty pleased. He gave me the little printout, it looks like a receipt out of a gas
Yeah.
pump.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
Yes.
he tested it before they touched it. They just hooked up to a battery and tested it, and it passed. And then unhooked one of the batteries and then tested them individually, and they both failed.
Oh.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's just-
And next time we also have an F-150, so next time we change the battery, we'll have to give that
Try it.
Linky
Try it
a
out.
try. Yeah.
Keeping with the
Reacquired.
fuel, keeping with the fuel. I know you guys haven't missed any of the SNS videos on Facebook, on their YouTube channel. This
No.
is a big, I feel, a cheap insurance mod on your truck. It's not that this is a problem with Ford trucks. It's the problem that this pump was designed using European standard fuels. Why we use the CP4 pump and ULSD is besides me. You can thank the environmentalists for that. So with that said, I would highly recommend checking out what Luke just went over in their Facebook video. I think they have it linked onto their YouTube channel. They actually cut open their Gen 2.1 filter after driving from the Ultimate Callout Challenge, where they purposely, before they left, they purposely disassembled the high pressure pump and turned that piston so that it was not riding on the roller no more, and took that truck out and drove it. So it was really cool to see it running. You could hear that thing knocking, just not sounding good at all. And then having to drive it back, that was for even to run and making metal and pulling that metering valve out of that high pressure pump. You see him real time. They got a camera over the hood, and Luke is taking out the 2 bolts in the metering valve and pulls it right out. And you can see there's no metal on that VCV whatsoever. So all of that material is going to be in the line to the filter, which is obviously what they cut open on the show on the bench. So a lot of guys have asked CP and FBM, is this going to void our warranty? Is this going to void our warranty? For one, I think a lot of guys are overlooking the sticker that they see as soon as they pop the hood. There's a white sticker right, so you're looking at the front of the truck right here on the driver's front. It's white, rectangular, and it says modifications, and a little paragraph of paraphrasing, pretty much any modification to the truck that is found to have caused a failure in a component would not be eligible for warranty. Let me just make the short story for you.
Right, so that's the opposite, basically.
Right. So being that SNS has got this carb cert on this kit, there's no warranty to be had to deny to that is up to your repairing dealer. And a lot of dealers will see, this or see this monitoring device plugged into the OBD, and oh, your truck's warranty's voided, and oh my gosh, I should have this out of the truck, and no, absolutely
That's why
not.
they give you that little piece of paper in the Banks kits that says anytime that you take this into the dealer,
Unreal.
like take it,
Well,
take
it
it
won't
out.
show, will it?
I think first people need to understand that you can modify your vehicle to any extent
Can't
that
see
you
it. It's
feel
blurry,
with no disclaimer at all, as long as it does not affect how that vehicle operates. It doesn't matter if you whatever you want to put on. There's enough legal term out there in writing. I forget what it's called, to where people ask me all the time.
Magnuson-Tunson Act or something.
Yeah, that
Whatever
sounds
it
right.
is, some weird thing like that. A lot of people ask me all the time, can I modify this? Can I modify that? Are you changing the programming? No. Are you changing the way the internal operation of that engine works? No. Are you screwing anything up by putting on what you're putting on there? No. So if something was to happen, can the dealer find you at fault for what you put on there? Well, no, not really. Well, then there's nothing that they can do. They have to prove what you did to it by law is
Yep.
what affected the vehicle to be broken. And if they
Yep.
cannot prove that, they cannot say anything
Mhm.
about their warranty is void.
Real quick, I want to continue, but I want to let you know this. Lick Rocks says, thanks for answering my email, Rich, regarding my fuel dilution on my Explorer, ! I don't know. You'll have to look at your email. But the SNS kit is, I have the Gen 2.0 on mine. I've installed a lot of
I
the
like
Gen
how that filter
2.0s,
looks.
but the 2.1, after watching the video in more depth and talking with CP, Luke had actually described why they had went away from the plastic filter to get a higher temperature rating out of this one, out of the metal spin-on Donaldson. So I'm wondering if we should spend the $60 and get the spin-on filter, but I really like the plastic
I was
Parker
gonna
filter
say it looks way better.
with the, I don't know, I like it.
Yeah,
But I was thinking about, okay, so I got rid of the plastic upper fuel filter with the HSM conversion, but I have this plastic SNS Millie filter. I'm like, well, what do I do? I really like that filter. I saw a picture of somebody having the cat filter underneath the HSM conversion. They got rid of the cat one and got a Donaldson one that actually had a clear little bowl on it, probably, I don't know, 1.5 inches deep, like a cup. And I was thinking, like, if we could find the same kind of setup, possibly to add on to that Donaldson, I don't know. I like being able to see when you're priming the fuel system, or if you have doing a repair, or whatever,
that it's there. Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I
was
really
thinking of
thought that
having you
was,
do it and then, but using that 2.0 style one, just because it looked cooler and had that exactly what you were just mentioning. And it's
But
funny because that video, sorry to interrupt you, that video came out right when we thought I might have that high pressure fuel issue, which thankfully turned out to be the ground and the pump wasn't turning on, which was, thank God, it was just the lift pump. But anyway, yeah, weird timing and I was shitting bricks.
yeah, it is kind of a no-brainer to have on your truck.
Yep.
It's a easy investment. We have one video out showing how we put it on that 21 Tremor, and I have a new video that's going to be coming out because SNS sent us a newer kit that we're going to be doing on a subscriber's truck. And I'm just going to go over the differences on pretty much the little tweaks that they've made and the whole different filter. It's completely different, and the manifold has their big S&S insignia on it, and how that filter screws on and where it sits right behind the degas bottle. It looks pretty damn good. I like how it fastens on the Alumaduties using, through the cowl, the push pin and so forth. The one on the 11 through 16, how it's using that 8 milli ground bolt tab is kind of, I don't want to say flopping there, but I think it looks a little more cleaner hugged up underneath the cowl on the Alumaduty than, versus the 11 through 16. I don't know. I think Luke and the S&S team have done a great job tailoring this kit to the 6.7 liter, because that there's so many of them out there. It just is a real bummer when you got a guy, an older gentleman, a family, or whatever they're towing, and they're just living life and not being cautious about the fuel, or not up on up. They're just driving. They're just trying to have fun. They're not in tune with their truck. And now they're stuck with this $12,000 bill. And it's like, this is something we need to talk to the municipalities about, the government vehicles, and put these on, because these are going to be first responder vehicles. These are going to be a repair that could cripple your landscaping business. And now, on top of fuel, on top of parts that we're not going to be able to get, these high pressure fuel system parts, you're not just going to walk into the dealer and be like, oh, let me get a couple of high pressure pumps and a couple of those. Sir, those are back ordered until next October, not this year. No, next October. Oh, it's horrible.
So
Put a CP3 on it and have it tuned.
I was gonna say, people have been doing that. People have been going backwards. I'm like, it's a lot of pressure for that thing, though, isn't it?
You can't put a CP3 on a 6.7.
There's nowhere to mount it unless it was
only dual fuelers. That's it.
They do them on Duramaxes.
6.7 doesn't have enough room for a CP3.
That doesn't.
Not in the valley.
That somebody did that, or what? I was like, oh, okay. I'd like to see it.
Video. I need a video.
Pixar didn't happen.
Daddy Diesel says, realistically, what mileage do you have to worry about the CP failing? Bro, that 1.3 million mile truck that came in, he had the original CP4.
I was to say, I heard,
if you take care of it, you know what I mean? Like,
it's really not that big of an issue. I mean, we just hear the crybabies cry about it. I mean,
that's what
I don't think it's as big of an issue on the Forge as it is with the Duramaxes, and that's because of the lack of lift pump in the tank. The CP4 was never designed to act as a lift pump and a high pressure pump. That was not its intended design, and that's where the Duramaxes fail. I mean, but even in that case, it seems to be like if you can make it past the 80,000 mile mark, it seems to be like they'll survive. I mean, it's almost like there's a.
I'm at 150 and still trucking.
Right. I mean, I know plenty of people that have the CP4s that got like, and in the steel bodies for sure. I mean, I got a buddy of mine that's got like 280 on his 6.7. He's a 12, I think. And I mean,
I feel like 14 was a good year for the 11 through 16 for some reason. Like, you don't hear as much, at least from what I, look on, like, 2011, 2012, this issue, that issue. But, after that, it seems pretty.
Well, it's because you already got the fender flares on yours, so you're straight. I mean,
no fender flares, nothing.
Yeah, you do. You got them on that picture right there, right above your head.
No. Where you?
Stop.
Well, I know, but there's still fender flares.
Where?
Isn't that just part of the fender, isn't it?
Yeah, that's part of the fender. That's built.
That's the steel.
My truck that's part of the steel, bro. That's 100%. That truck is.
Those aren't bushwhackers, bro.
Yeah, other than some, like, bank stuff and like an intake and a diff cover and a couple other things. Obviously, the tune, that thing is bare Fair
While
stuff.
we're talking about this, he just rattled out how many miles he's got. Every one of you guys right now who's got a 6.7 liter, I don't care what year it is, I want you to tell me how many miles you have it on, and if you have your original CP4. If you had to
150,
replace it,
yes.
if you had to replace it,
Nope.
maybe indulge while you had to. But
I would
I
say,
want to know
I think
out
you're
there.
gonna find we're gonna go back to bad fuel again. I think, and you're gonna find a lot of people that end up picking up some bad fuel and they smoke their palm.
I still kind
90%.
of want this kit though. I still kind of want him to want A-Rod to put this kit on for me. I think I'd go with
90%.
2.0.
90% of the failures I've seen is fuel, bad fuel,
100%.
period, or DEF.
Or
Period.
Def.
Yeah, or you mean putting DEF in the fuel
Def,
tank?
the silent killer. Def, the silent killer.
I mean, out of all of them I've seen, I've only done a handful of them that were warrantable failures.
I called the
Look
guy
at you guys
that-
coming in. I love it. I love it.
I called a guy that did my buddy's Duramax after he picked up some bad fuel and smoked his CP4. And I don't ask me what year, I can't remember. I can picture the truck, but I don't remember. And he smoked his CP4 pump. So I called that guy, and because they went to a CP3 conversion on his Duramax, and did the whole thing. I mean, did the whole delete. I'm sorry.
I threw mine in the chat.
And anyway, I talked to him about it, and he said the same thing. He said, "Listen, I just frankly don't see the Fords and the Dodges coming in. It's like, I mean, I think he said it was something insane. It was like 3 or 4 to 1.
Wow.
Almost
That's pretty
always
big.
exclusively the
That's pretty-
Duramaxes. So, I mean, it's, it is what it is. I mean, I personally believe you're probably more likelihood to smoke your CP4 with a bad fuel on a Ford or a Dodge, but versus just an absolute outright failure.
2011 F-250 6.7 with 42,000 miles in original CP4 with no disaster or French kit. Frank Thomason, boy, that thing's not even broken in.
Yeah,
Have
I
you
was
gotten your
gonna
first
say,
oil change yet? I'm
Just
just
yeah.
About that dude I tagged you in his video on TikTok, Aaron, where he went up to Michigan and bought that 14 or whatever it was, 13,
Oh,
6,
yeah.
7 with only
Yep.
8,900 miles on it, and
That was a deal.
he paid $18,000 cash for it and traded in
Dang.
another truck
Wow.
with it.
What else
That's
did he have
awesome.
to give up?
Huh?
What else did he have to give up for that?
He gave up another worn. It was a pretty worn truck and $18,000 cash, and it had only spent its life on one business property plowing snow, and they never really even used it. And it had like a I don't know if it was like a Reese or I don't know what. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. Maybe it was a worn. You remember what plow setup that was on that truck? I don't know. It looked like it was a pretty decent plow. It had like the wings on the side.
Yeah.
You a boss
Yeah,
or
yep.
Fisher.
Yeah.
I'm a boss.
He got.
I mean-
the name of the plow really doesn't matter, but it's
Yeah, no.
8,900 miles on it. And
How many
Wow.
hours? How many
He
hours?
said it was really low hours. I don't know what it was. The
Does that
guy's brand new to TikTok. He was just looking for like super duty help and like guys.
Yeah.
Guys.
Hey,
Idle
Ford
hours
guys.
are out of control.
Winners.
I've seen a place at work that had a truck they used as a yard truck and plow truck, and the thing only left the yard when it was going to get gas. It was
Yeah.
a gas motor, right? But I mean, granted, that being said, the thing only had 30,000 miles on it. It was 20 years old, and it was
Yeah.
the biggest pile of junk ever. And it was a Ford.
We
And
have
it
a
was a-
6.4 with 60,000 miles, and it's kiboshed with the tune, and it doesn't leave, and it doesn't sit around and idle either. Though when it's on, it's running. We don't let it idle on the lot.
Yeah.
And when
This one here had a lot of idle hours. I mean, I think the old dude that was driving around the yard just turned it on in the morning, didn't turn it off till he went home.
Jesus Christ.
And it had 30-some thousand miles on it, and it was a pile of junk.
Yeah.
I mean, it barely moved itself down the driveway or down the road when we tried to take it down the road, but it had virtually no miles on it. So I automatically go to like how many hours were on it.
yeah, I
Because
mean, I
you
try
could
to
have
tell people that all the time. I try to tell
Brandon-
people look at engine hours and idle hours all the time.
Brandon Powerstroke in the chat makes a good point. Low miles is sometimes worse than high miles, which is true if it
Right.
sits a lot.
I could
I
feel
think
you.
that's true.
You know, that could be. That's why I like to drive it. You know, I mean, that 148,000 is in almost 10 years. That's like 8 years worth of driving. But I'm hoping it makes it to 1 million, and then some will just rebuild it after that.
Look at that.
Bring it
That
in for a
F-150 I
rebuild.
had on my channel, Aaron. The 2020 F-150. It had 2,400 miles on it.
Mhm.
And that composite oil pan already leaking with 2,400 miles. When we look at the engine hours and the idle hours, it had the equivalency of almost 11,000 miles on the truck.
Jesus.
Because all it would do was just sit.
Wow.
It was the police supervisor that would sit in the truck and they would just idle. That was all he did.
No high
Hey,
speed
A-Rod.
chases for that guy.
How in the heck? What are you doing over there?
What is that?
It's a bottle of water from the dealer.
Oh,
Yeah, he got
okay.
hooked up.
I love when they put their own label on it. It's like, yes, we bottle our own spring water. It's called Mountain Spring.
The wife got her new car a little bit ago, and I got, you know, anytime I go in there and
I
I was
stole
stealing
a
the
case
bottles.
from them. I stole
look at
a
the size. Look at the size of the cap alone. I mean, it's an actual old school water bottle.
A guy was one of the channel members here was asking if I use a topside creeper. I have a topside creeper that I bought many years ago, and I haven't really used. I used to use it on
I
the
love 'em.
6.0s, but I find that I just can't. I'm too high up over the engine. Even if I got it just skimming just the top of the engine, I can, you know,
I
go as
can't
low as I
remember,
can.
what were you standing on when you changed my vacuum pump seal? It felt like you were
my
just standing on
stool.
the. Oh, okay.
I
I
got
thought you were
a
like
stool.
standing on the tow hooks. Okay.
No, I got
I
a
was there
stool
too.
that allows me to have the truck like right at my waist,
Yeah, that's
and
not
I
where
get
you're at. Yeah,
I got a bunch of like workout pads that have, you know, all the fingers you can lock together.
sure.
I got like 4 or 5 of them together, stabbed my screwdriver through on each corner, and then
Yep.
just zip tied them all together, and that's my little pad I'll throw on top of the
Nice.
engine, and that's what I've been using for the last no bullshit.
Let's not forget Aaron is not extra portly.
True.
Do what?
You don't have as many extra LBs on top of you.
I lay
Oh.
across the top of the engine too, so
I
I'm
mean,
fat boy.
I'm gonna
I'm
contribute
fatty boy.
my
She's durable. She can take it.
herniated disc from leaning over 6.0s and having, you know, the front grill right here on your thighs and the rest of your legs hanging off, and you're about to pull the turbo and yank everything off, and it's just repeated SCT.
Is that like the mechanic Superman?
Yeah. What I wound up starting to do was putting my cart right next to me, and then I could put my feet right on the edge of my cart. I'm like, oh man, this is actually not too bad. I'm stretching my back out. Okay, I could do this. But I mean, I don't want to be laying, you know, you're pulling and you're about to go to sleep. It's just,
So
you know, way more.
your original question, Aaron, was about the over creeper. The engine, I love them. I've used them a lot, and I feel like they're very, very comfortable after you get, and I'm bigger than any of you guys. Well, I don't know if me and Cody might be close to the same, I'm not sure. But
Probably pretty close.
well, and I use them and I don't have a problem. So I worked almost 2 years with a hernia that I just had repaired not too long ago, doing this type of stuff in engine bays, phasers, chains, down inside these things for 2 years with a hernia before getting it fixed. And it was bad. And those over creepers, the over engine bay creepers, absolutely love them.
I just feel like I can't, like my face would be at the cowl and I need to get down in farther to pull the turbo out. And it's like, if I was lower, then I could get my hands in farther. But because like I'm up on,
Got to get creative, Bubba.
yeah, I don't know. That's me. I like A-Rod's crates. I like you. Okay, everyone.
I got a
Post your
similar
height and
crate.
weight.
I got a similar story to your
weight.
pad that you throw. I got a milk crate, and I take 100-pound zip ties, and I take a tractor trailer mud flap, and I take the milk crate and I flip it upside down and I cut that rubber from the tractor trailer mud flap to fit the bottom of it. And I 200-pound zip ties, 200-pound zip ties, 200-pound zip ties all the way
Okay.
around. So I've got
Okay.
an anti-skid, anti-slip
Yeah.
pad. And
I
I
like
stand
it.
on that thing, and that's how I use that. I use that in the Gorilla ladders. I love the Gorilla ladders, but now the Quick Lane has ruined that milk crate. And right before I went on vacation, I seen they had cracked the whole corner on it from using it. And I was like, you fucking a-holes, man.
What I did is I got 3/8
dirty.
rubber hose and slid it down hot dog style, and then
Yep.
put that around each edge of the milk crate with zip ties. Same kind of like
Same
you did.
concept.
Yep.
I wanted the rubber to hold the bottom of it together from bowing out and
Mm.
bellying. And they ended up, 3 of them in one day of using it over and over and over again. They split it. And I was like, it lasted 2.5 years.
Some people's kids, man. That's why we can't have anything nice.
I don't
Lorraine,
like letting
it comes
Quick
from the
Lane use
upbringing.
my stuff.
No way. No way. As we end it down here tonight, we got an old 7-3 question. David Cooper says, got a 7-3 question. I'm about to do injector cups in my 7-3. What would that cause a cylinder contribution code? When you do injector cups, like we did on CP's neighbor's truck, he had fuel in the coolant. So I don't know if that's going to cause a cylinder contribution code. If you're going to be pulling the injectors out to do the cup, my advice to you, buddy, is probably take them out to a diesel shop, let them flow test them, put them on a bench test, and they'll be able to tell you, if A, B, C injector is spraying good, is flowing good, all that jazz.
I wouldn't think a cup would cause a contribution concern. I'd be more an injector
Yeah.
or a cylinder or a base engine concern.
Most definitely.
You don't like hearing that.
Nah.
Aaron, I was gonna add if we figured since you had me on, I would probably throw some gas pricing numbers, or not numbers, but informations at people to kind of understand some of the dynamic between some of the states.
You got it, man.
I just figured before we close it out, I figured that was probably why you had me on.
Say it. Gas
so
man,
like
live and present.
Yeah, I've been talking to some people out in this friend of mine's out in Delaware, and she actually has a diesel Jaguar car, and nice European diesel car, kind of like something that we never picked up here in the States too well. But she's already up to, I think, like $6.50, $7 for a gallon of diesel, and that was a couple weeks ago, so maybe it's even worse. And she didn't understand why it was so different from here. We were comparing at the time. I think she was like $2 over me, which is like 40% over what it is here in Metro Detroit. And I was trying to explain it to her that, over there in the East Coast, there's only, so they either have the choice of getting their fuel from the New York Harbor area, and off of a lot of it comes off of tankers and such. But a number of years, there was a couple refineries that closed down over on the East Coast, one being as far west as in mid Pennsylvania. So what the big oil companies did, it was a big multi-company conglomeration, is they decided that the cost effectiveness of building another refinery or rehabbing one of these old refineries with all the environmental issues, that it was more cost effective to bring the crude oil into the Detroit and Chicago markets, refine it here, and ship it out there, and ship it all the way back east. The cost of the crude, as well as the manufacturing costs at the refinery, offset because of a lot of the regulations, especially in New York, in Jersey, Maryland, those kind of states like that. Delaware's right in the middle. It was actually cheaper to run it all the way out there than it was to make it out there. And
wow.
So they went through, the refinery in the Chicago market, which is the BP Whiting refinery, and the Detroit refinery, which is Marathon, really amped up their capacities. They installed a bunch of high flow pumps along with a couple of the other oil companies, doing some pipeline changes, pump changes, increasing rates, et cetera, without getting into too much detail, and increase the rates. And they actually ship out the product into the Pennsylvania market, all the way out towards Jersey and Delaware from Detroit and Chicago. And I'm talking about doubling the rates on some of these pipelines, from say 2,500 to, 5,000 plus barrels per hour on these pipelines. And if anybody wants to crunch the math on that, do a rough factor of whatever number you want to pick, say 5,000, and times it by 42 gallons per barrel. And it's a lot, but that's going to obviously incur more costs. So taxes aside from state to state, there's going to be a larger cost if they have to haul it farther, right?
They're touching it more.
So they have to ship it a great deal farther. Now, granted, the pipelines themselves don't charge a great deal. I think back in the day, I mean, it was minimal, like a nickel a gallon or something. It was really minimal for what the actual costs were. Now, granted, that might be a little bit more, but those things are regulated through the Federal Trade Commissions and FERCA and stuff like that. So, those companies that are doing that kind of pipeline shipping aren't exactly banking massively more money. That's not where the problem's at.
Diesel here is $2.30 a liter, which is $8.74 a gallon.
Yeah, it's funny you say that.
Where's that? Here, where?
Wherever they're selling liters.
Europe
Liters,
or
it could be Canada. It could be anywhere. I mean, anywhere else uses the metric.
Toronto.
Yeah. So
Canada.
Peg from Zip Ties and Buys Pies, he basically used to work on in an oil patch, and they refine the shit and pull it right out of the ground right where he's at. And he was saying it was close to the same amount. He's like, how screwed up is that? We pull it out of the ground right in our backyard and refine it. And we're paying this much money. I'm like, that's insane.
I mean, I remember back in the say the 2012, 13, 14 era, when they made the big Bakken boom out in the Dakotas in Canada, the sand tars type crude, and the price of crude at the time, was over $100 a barrel for regular imported sour crude on the world market. And the Bakken crude was down into like $30 and $40 per barrel. And they would actually rail it into these markets, the Michigan, Ohio, Indiana markets, Illinois markets. They would rail it into one of these facilities, pay all that type of rail tariffs, offload it from the rail into tanks, pipeline it to the refinery, and of course that's to stop a couple places along the way and refine it, and it was still cheaper than buying the full-blown imported crude at $110 a barrel. But when the barrel for the the world sour crude, when that barrel lost its value, years later, say 2015, 2016, 17, 18, that market dried up. I mean, that was back in 2013, 2014, and you could make $15 to $20 an hour working at Mickey D's because they couldn't keep any employees because they were working in the Bakken fields and making, crazy money. So, I mean, I think Gentlemen's Club performers were pulling 6 digits.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
freaking silly. I don't know. He had a gentleman's dance around the beach today, but we won't talk about that. It was she was old, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually loaded the video and didn't even realize I loaded the video when I was trying to give everybody an update. And then I saw the video first when it first popped up, and I was like, "Oh crap, that old lady's tits is hanging out. I better go back and edit that out of there." Like, they weren't like the ones that go forward like this. They were the ones that go way to the floor like that. And I was like, "Yeah,
And bags.
it's gonna be good for nobody to see. Let me get that out of there."
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, there was they weren't even paying attention to what they were doing, because that's not even this type of resort here. You got to go to other resorts for that. And they just started stripping their clothes off right at the side of the pool. They're like 70, 75 years old, and they're like, "Hey, rock out."
They were gonna have a cornhole competition.
Oh, good Lord.
I mean, I was doing like this with the camera, kind of doing a thing to show everybody, and I didn't even catch it at first. And then I came back with the camera, and then I shut everything off. And then I was sitting there for a second, and I see somebody in the pool, like, "Hey, turn around, look to your left." And I was like, "Oh, God, failed." And then I forgot about it until I
That's
loaded the
funny.
video. And then I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize I actually caught her changing." And everything was there.
Changing. That's what we're calling it now. They were
Yeah.
changing.
They were
Okay.
I mean, she
changing.
just
That
she
was,
took her regular clothes off right there at the side of the pool and started putting her bathing suit on like it was no big deal, and kids hanging out and everything. And I was like, "What the? Seriously?" There's kids everywhere, and
I mean, I think the same thing happens if you're in, fill in the blank major U.S. city, and you go to your favorite gym and they have a bathroom. You come around a corner from, go into your locker to change into your shorts or out of your shorts, and whoa, look at that!
oh yeah,
Yeah.
But
Hello.
these were very
Hello, that's a
they were
pruny
very
looking hot dog.
comfortable.
I saw an interesting question in the chat that somebody had asked. They were like, question, what's a necessity to change on a 2016 F-350 with 36,500 miles original CP4? I would say nothing, right?
Change your oil.
Yeah, your oil. Yes.
Change your fuel filters.
And if you got a DPF on it, make sure you regen that puppy.
Don't put DEF in your diesel tank.
That too.
PSA.
PSA. With that
Funny, I
PSA,
remember I for some reason was showing A-Rod something in my fuel tank, or like something near my fuel tank, and he's like, "Why do you still have your DEF cap?" And I was like, "For show, to keep something there. It's a
You ever
It's a
see
keepsake.
anybody do the put their truck on a diet and they put the Ford dual tip back on it?
I have not.
Yeah, they just put it on there to make it look like it's not on a keto diet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
keto. Keto.
All
All right, fellas, we're gonna let Ford Boss get back to his Mai Tais. He's gonna be he's gonna be moonlight bathing tonight.
Don't get a moon burn.
We appreciate.
I've been out in the sun every day.
He
Congratulations again on the Mercury.
He a little burned. When are you coming back? You gonna be back next week?
I mean,
Hey,
I'm never coming
we'll
home.
leave it. We'll leave it at that. We appreciate
don't
you guys
blame you.
for hanging out, Gasman and Lasagna. As always, appreciate everybody in the
Thanks
chat.
for having
Brian
me.
B. Check us out Friday. I personally have a feeling that this is going to be a really good video. This is going to be for all of you Illumiduty guys. I want you to pay real close attention, because if you are tired of seeing the inside of your Super Duty get fucking soaked, I'll see you on Friday. Thank you guys.
Thanks for having
Peace.
me.